Transistor. The word transistor is a combination of trans and istor. The prefix trans means signal transfer property of the device, while istor classifies it as a solid element just like resistors. The transistor is a semiconductor device used to amplify and switch electronic signals and electrical power. It is composed of semiconductor material having 3 terminals for connection to an external circuit. The transistor has 2 types called bipolar junction transistor, BJT, and field effect transistor, FET. Bipolar junction transistor. The transistor formed by connecting 2 diodes back-to-back is called bipolar junction transistor, BJT. The charge carriers are free electrons and holes in BJT. As shown in figure. Terminals of BJT. The BJT transistor has 3 regions of doped semiconductors. The central region is called base, which is thin and lightly doped. The section on one side of base is called emitter, which is heavily doped. The section on the opposite side of emitter is called collector, which has intermediate doping. The BJT has 2 kinds called NPN transistor and PNP transistor. As shown in Figure 1 and Figure 2. NPN transistor. The transistor in which central section is P-type base between N-type emitter and N-type collector is called NPN transistor. The emitter is shown by outgoing arrow in symbol of NPN transistor. It indicates conventional current flows out of emitter in NPN transistor. As shown in figure. PNP transistor. The transistor in which central section is N-type base between P-type emitter and P-type collector is called PNP transistor. The emitter is shown by incoming arrow in symbol of PNP transistor. It indicates conventional current flows into emitter in PNP transistor. As shown in figure. Emitter. The section of a transistor which supplies majority charge carriers is called emitter. The emitter is always forward biased with respect to base so that it can supply large number of majority charges carriers. The P-type emitter in PNP transistor supplies holes. Similarly, N-type emitter in NPN transistor supplies free electrons. Collector. The section of a transistor which collects majority charge carriers, free electrons or holes, is called collector. The collector is always reverse biased because it can attract charge carriers. The P-type collector in PNP transistor receives holes from base. Similarly, N-type collector in NPN transistor receives free electrons from base. Base. The middle section of transistor between emitter and collector is called base. It is lightly doped and narrow. It allows to pass most of emitter-injected charge carriers towards collector. Depletion layers. The free electrons are majority charge carriers in N-type and holes are majority charge carriers in P-type. The free electrons of N-type emitter diffuse into base of P-type in NPN transistor and establish a depletion layer at junction boundary. Similarly, free electrons of N-type collector diffuse into base of P-type in NPN transistor and establish another depletion layer at junction boundary. As shown in figure.